Greetings, greetings, greetings to the Conscious Collective. I am live and I am early. When I set the time to go live, I think it's just a suggestion um, because, if I have the availability on that time, I will go live. And so I've been going live a lot earlier than the time being set. And I know I'm throwing the collective off, but we are here now. We're going to be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. Uh, Lyran, courage is needed. A lot of things are going on in the world. A lot of people are feeling fearful. Remember, that is meant. That's the objective, to keep you in your lower vibration, to keep you in lower fear, survival mode, defensive mode. That is the goal of the matrix, to keep you grounded. But you being a star seed, you have a few tools in your belt that you can use. And so we're going to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius and how to encourage that lion energy to come forth and to aid you in your life journey. Let me just bring it up on so I can get my little feedback going here. There has been quite a bit of things going on, but have no fear. Baba XL is here to help encourage you and keep you moving forward in your purpose and your life journey. So why is it not showing me live? Let's see if I can see myself live. Give me 1 second. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is well. We're going to be looking at the Lyran energy today. As starseeds, we are more concerned with our starseed traits and characteristics than we are with horoscopes. Horoscopes are the Gaians. Gaians are those that are native to this planet. They have DNA rooted in this planet. Not that starseeds are not physically part of this existence, but we rely more on our traits and characteristics as starseeds to guide us through our life journey here. A lot of us come here with soul contracts and come here with things that we're trying to accomplish. And the first thing we need to do is reconnect to who we truly are. If you are here, you probably feel that calling, that you are something greater than the world has told you. You have always felt different. You've always felt like you were out of misplaced. And now you have a better understanding of who you are. And so we're going to be talking about that today and some other things. It's a lot going on. I don't know if I got allergies or something, but we're going to push through. Okay? I feel fine, but I don't know if I got a lot of allergies or a lot of congestion going on. But I hope everyone is doing well. So thank you for joining me. Little information I've been feeling personally. I don't know if other people have been feeling, so we're going to talk about this. I've been feeling personally as dimensionally different. I came up with the term that I feel dimensionally different. A lot of things don't make sense to me. And I know that I kind of reside in 5D and a lot of the earth plane is in 3D. And I'm here in 3D to aid others in their journey. So I come and work with them, but it's just a dimension. You just feel different. Like you just things just don't make any sense. Like, okay, I'll give you a case in point. I'm not watching, I'm flipping through the channels and I come across Jimmy Fallon. And they're doing the Jingle Bell, some type of Jingle Bell skit, right? And I've seen it before where you have the bells and you're ringing the bells like this, okay? And then they, it's like 10, 12 people and they're ringing the bells. Sometimes you see one guy and he's doing the bells across a table, but sometimes you see, 10 or 12 people and they all ringing different tones, bells to a song, right? To whatever Christmas song they're doing, right? So Jimmy Fallon has about 12 guys lined up and they have the bells around their groin area. Okay, I can't stand up, and I could stand up, but I'm not gonna stand up and show you. And they're ringing the bells on their groin area like this, and I'm like, is that even? Why is that necessary? Why is it necessary to do that? I mean, this was already impressive enough when different people are playing a song and ringing different tones of bell, but it's 12 guys and they're ringing their junk, and I'm like, why is that necessary? You know, it look, the more you do in this debased and debauchery world, the more you have to do. That's why it's at the lowest common denomination. It's sinking to the lowest possible consciousness, because you feel like you have to keep doing more and more and more, and you just get lower and lower and lower. And I'm like, why? That's not even. It's not wasn't even funny, in my opinion. And it's just like, why do you do that? Why do you have to do the anything that's, I don't know. I don't know. And I just sometimes, but that's just an example. Sometimes I'm moving around in this third D reality, and a lot of things just don't make sense to me. They just, I'm looking, I'm like, that don't make any sense. That's not even intelligent. All right. I get like a lot of people. Okay, so I'm looking at these people complaining about other religious people and sending them to hell, and talking about that they are not worshiping their religious God or whatever dogmatic teachings they're doing. And they like, just use some critical thinking. Just use some critical thinking. Don't let these false preachers and false teachers tell you to use some critical thinking. I'm like, if you were using critical thinking, you wouldn't believe that garbage you're teaching. It's just, how are you going to tell people to use critical thinking, and you're trying to convince them that this God put everything on the planet that was living on the ark? You're telling them to use critical thinking after somebody has scammed them, but you're telling them a lie. If I tell you a lie and you believe that lie, and then someone else tell you a lie, I'm telling you that he's lying, and you should use critical thinking. The first critical thinking is the lie you told. I mean, the stories, the belief system, you have a group of people who believe things, right? Jesus is coming back, and he rose from the dead. So when someone else said, well, my prophet rose from the dead, use critical thinking. You wait a minute. They don't have any critical thinking, because you just lied to them. You lied to them, so you already know they don't have any critical thinking. But then you tell them to use critical thinking when other people are lying to them. It's just like, what? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I'm not saying that there are not truths in religious teachings and in biblical teaching. I'm not saying that there are moral lessons and moral guidance for you. But to tell someone else that they're not using critical thinking when you lied to them first about your belief, right? And you said you want them to suspend, because when you question them, they say it's a matter of faith. Right, so like say you tell me a story in the Bible, and I'm like, well, that really doesn't make sense. And you say, well, it's a matter of faith, right? But somebody else tells me a story, and you tell me to use critical thinking. Which one is? Do you want me to use faith, or do you want me to use critical thinking? I say use critical thinking in all things. Take what resonates with you and let that guide you in your life, because it may be meant for you to tell you that at that moment. So like I said, we're going to be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius and why courage is needed. But I wanted to get this off my chest first, because it's just, I feel like I'm dimensionally different. I feel like and I've always felt like that, right? And I understand my role here on this plane of resistance, to lead, to guide, to help. But sometimes I feel like I'm so ahead of the crowd, and the crowd eventually comes along. Things I was talking about 2 years ago, people are starting to talk about now. You're going to hear more talk about chakras, right? You're going to hear more talk about star seeds. You're going to hear more talk about other consciousness and characteristics. But right now, sometimes I feel like I'm so ahead of the crowd. I look back and I don't see anybody. And I just keep teaching and keep sharing. And I look back and now I see they're coming over the hill. They're understanding more. This is to aid you in your life journey. If you are a starseed, this is not for everyone. This is only for those that are star seeds or light workers that feel like they have a different consciousness, that this world does not make a lot of sense, And now you have a place where you can say, okay, let me hear a little bit more about this and see what resonates with my soul and my journey. All right, and that's all this is for. It is not for Gaians or NPCs or agents. Gaians are the original stock of this planet. All right, they came from Homo sapiens, or Homo erectus, or whatever you want to call them. All right, they were genetically altered. Okay, those are the Gaians. Okay, NPC are just like game characters. They just do certain things. They only want one purpose, and that's usually to distract. Okay, and agents are actively working against people of higher consciousness, people of higher evolution. Those are the actual agents working against you. So just a quick synopsis when you hear me throw these terms around, okay? That this whole thing is a school to aid you in growing to your highest version of yourself. But to do that, you have work to do. That is rediscovering yourself and learning more about who you really are through your traits and characteristics. So you may align with different starseeds. And if you're not familiar with what starseed type you are, first let me tell you probably a lot of different types of starseeds, because there's been a lot of intermingling of characteristics and traits, and because of reincarnation, you came back here a couple of times, so you're different starseeds, and you have a lot of characteristics and traits in you. But there's probably one that you probably lean stronger to in this carnation of yourself. Right? Mine is a blue ray starseed. There's probably one that you align more with because of what your job or what your purpose is this time in your incarnation. So if you need help discovering that, please reach out to me and let me work you through which starseed is more aligned to who you are. All right? And discover your purpose and your mission along the way. Now, let's talk about the Lyrans and the new moon in Sagittarius, and how your courage is needed because all that are going on. Lyrans, Starseeds, are keepers of divine ancestry. They are mainly focused on the soul sovereignty. Okay, courage. We talked about courage. Let's go back to soul sovereignty. That is one of the most guided or the strongest pillar in being on this plane of existence as a starseed or as a light worker, is that you have a strong belief in your soul sovereignty. You know you are in direct control of your being. Okay, now you may have to do things in this plane of existence that put people in charge of you or in control of you in some kind of way, whether it be a job or a student or whatever, but you have a strong belief in your soul sovereignty. All right, that is just a basic starseed light worker trait. Right, but the Lyrans are the keepers of that energy. All right, and they're the keeper of courage. All right, creative architect. Now this new moon in Sagittarius arrives like a ignition switch. It is setting you on fire. All right, we know my feelings about the moon being a big mirror or reflector of divine light, but it's also a corrupter of divine light. It intensifies that divine light, and it usually focuses on the lower chakras. Okay, and so it intensifies the energy going to the lower chakra. It overstimulates them. That's why I say the moon is not one of my biggest celestial fan. I'm not a big fan of the moon, okay? Because it always overstimulates the lower chakras, all right? But this new moon in Sagittarius arrives like a firecracker. Wow, liberating, truth-seeking, and unafraid. This is that energy that we need as we go through so many things, as we raise the consciousness of humanity and elevate people's critical thinking, right? Sometimes it's easy to be afraid. Sometimes so much is coming at you that you might feel like you're afraid, or you need to tamp down your energy, or you need to be quiet and not so confrontational. Next week is one of the holidays that, you know, they have forced on us. And you're going to be encountering a lot of difficult situations, conversations. And so this is the time to be unafraid. All right, let this moon mark you as a soul reset, shifting you out of your stagnation and just going along to get along into a forward moving expansion. Sagittarius is opening that horizon for you, and that Lyran heart energy is opening your heart roar. So you're going to be roaring. All right, this is the opportunity. If you choose to, remember we talking about soul sovereignty. If you choose to, this is going to be an opportunity to really let that roar out, right? To be unafraid. Together, both these energies, that Sagittarius energy and that Lyran energy, they're going to awaken your courage blueprint, your courage matrix, all right? And within your multidimensional self. Should we have a conversation really quickly about there are many yous in many places. Okay, you are a multi-dimensional being. I know it's hard to comprehend, but you exist on multiple levels, in multiple dimensions, in multiple places. It's just I heard something the other day that was very interesting. All right. Let's take the vastness of the universe. Let's take the vastness of the universe. They say that there is no end. That the universe is just there's no end to it. It doesn't end, right? Do you think all of that was created just for one little planet? One little singular planet called Earth, which is really called Terra, but let's just call it Earth. You think all of that was created for Terra, for Earth? There's nothing else out there. All this was just created just for this one little place. No, there's a lot of places. There's a lot of civilizations. There's a lot of dimensions, okay? And you are special because you exist in multi-dimensions, all right? And there's a specific reason why we won't get into that deep theological discussion of why you're so special, why you are a lattice and a bridge between all the other places, okay? It's because your DNA can hold that form, all right? Can hold that energy, that you have that blueprint. We'll leave that for another day, right? So this new moon asks one question, one vital question, right? What future would you choose if you were no longer afraid? This is what this new moon is asking us, all right? The new moon in Sagittarius. What future would you choose if you were no longer afraid? And fear comes in different flavors, different levels. It may not be a physical fear, but it is a resistance to who you are and your mission and your purpose. Maybe you don't speak as loudly as you should. Maybe you don't push back as much as you should because you may have this fear that is keeping you from disrupting the norm, speaking out, saying things that don't go along with the crowd. All right, maybe that's a sort of fear that you have. All right, so this new moon activates your Lyran Starseed. As we said before, there is a lot of different Starseed characteristics and traits in each one of us. Some of us are more strongly in one than the other. You may feel you are a Lyran. Sometimes we talk about Starseeds as characteristics and traits, but you can sometimes see the physical look of a Lyran, all right, or the physical look of a Palladian, or the physicality, of a Syrian, all right. Lyrans have a distinct look to me, all right, and it's funny because when we interpret starseeds and their characteristics and traits, we see them a certain ways. It's not exactly how they look, all right. It's not, that's just our reference point. The ability to see, like when you can see a face in a cloud, right? That doesn't mean that that's a face in the cloud. It's your reference point, okay? And so a lot of times when we look at starseeds, we look at them as our reference point. And so Lyran's energies look like lions a lot of times, or felines to us, all right? So, but we really want to focus on their characteristics and their traits. And Lyrans are very courageous, all right? They're very strong in their soul sovereignty, all right? They're independent. So you might be in your Lyran energy, okay, very strongly, but we all have different characteristics and traits of starseeds to varying degrees in all of us, okay? I said earlier, I'm more of a blue ray, which is about organization and teaching, right? but I do have Lyran energy when it comes to defending my soul sovereignty. Okay. So how this new moon activates your Lyran Starseeds? All right. We're asking the question: what life would you live if you were no longer afraid? All right. Lyran Starseeds carry the ancient lineage of the Lion people. All right, coming from Lyra. Lyran Starseeds come from Lyra. If you didn't make that connection, all right, they're beings of soul sovereignty, creative force, and noble courage. They incarnate to anchor bravery, leadership, self-trust, and heart-centered truth, and freedom. That's that Lyran energy. You seek freedom, okay? During this Sagittarius new moon, these qualities intensify. This energy is filling you, pushing you stronger, right? Pushing Lyrans to break their old contracts of self-doubt, reclaiming their voice. Now, this is interesting, right? We sign a soul contract to complete certain missions and purpose as we come into this plane of existence, right? But you can also be making a contract by not moving in your purpose and mission, okay? Because it becomes a pattern. It becomes a thing you do. When you sign a contract, you're promising to do something. When you're in a contract, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're in sort of a contract too. So this energy is allowing you to break those old contracts of self-doubt, reclaim your voice, initiate bold actions aligned with your destiny. Pursue purpose rather than safety. A lot of times you have to go where it's unsafe at. All right. I said earlier that as you go and you visit your family members over the next, I guess they'll start this weekend, flying in and getting ready for a culture that doesn't belong to most people. This culture it's a fake culture, people. If you can't tell that all this is made up and it's a matrix, why do you do what you do? Because you've been taught to do it. Why do you do the things that you do? It's simply because you've been taught to do them over time. All right, you were, as a child, you just fell into them, and you ask people why they do things, and they say, well, because we've always done it. All right, all that it's just been created in this fake reality. All right, so as you go about this fakeness, why would you celebrate something that has no meaning to you, that has no connection to you? I guess it's part of being liberated. It doesn't resonate with me anymore because it has no meaning. I understand doing things with meaning and with purpose, but a lot of people are doing things just because they've been doing them. And then they wonder why they're getting the same results. All right. One year I was living in an apartment and I saw this, I had the window cracked open and there was a fly that flew in and the fly was flying around and it kept hitting the window, the top of the window where the glass was at, to kind of get out, right? And the bottom of the window was open. There was no screen in the window. And I was just thinking to myself, if the fly would just try something new, something different, like flying low, it could get freedom. Why do we keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results? Why do you keep, the small thing, keep celebrating the same holidays, keep doing along with the same program, and then wonder why your life is not changing, wondering why you have to make small changes. All right, you may not be able to make big changes, but remember, small things can become big things. A building is built, a massive building, a building that to stand the test of time, that's huge, is built one brick at a time. So you have to make small changes to make massive differences in your life. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're gonna keep getting the same result. Keep celebrating the same holidays, keep saying the same thing, not even questioning. This is what critical thinking is. Not even questioning, why do I do this? How does it benefit my life journey? What purpose does it give me in what I'm supposed to accomplish and what I'm supposed to do by continuing to do the same thing that supports the system that oppresses me? You are the matrix. I cannot stress that enough, that you are the matrix. The matrix is not something outside of you. You project the matrix. You create the matrix. You continue the systems that keep you trapped in 3D reality. This is not coming from somewhere. I mean, they give you the motivation and the energy, right? But you use that energy to create the form they want you to create. By stimulating certain chakras. Like if I stimulate and overfeed the defensive chakra, the survival chakra, right? Then you live in a survival mode and you view the world as something that needs to be survived. You see how that works? If I create an environment where there's scarcity and then I overfeed that lower chakra, right? Then you live in a world believing everything is scarce. You create that reality, right? So as we go through these made up holidays and made up inventions and we perpetrate them, you know, like when someone says, Merry Christmas, and I say Merry Christmas back, that perpetrates that same energy. All right. I usually just say thank you, or, okay. When I say okay, people think I'm rude when they say, Merry Christmas. Okay. Okay. So to avoid conflict, I say, okay, thank you, but okay. All right. I don't want to keep perpetrating that same energy. I want to find little ways that I can resist because I know those little ways add up to a larger resistance. Okay. So when you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. But I digress. All right. So let's talk about this energy again and how it's going to help you break out of that same thing. During Sagittarius new moon, these qualities intensify in pushing Lyrans to break old contracts of self-doubt, reclaim their voice, initiate bold actions aligned with your destiny and purpose. The boldness, you have the opportunity to be bold during this season. Pursue purpose rather than safety. Remembering your origin as a creator and not a follower. All of us are creators. We are self-creators of the universe. We are not followers. This is not a gentle moon. This is a summoning. During this new moon in Sagittarius, when your courage is needed, you may feel energetically restless. You're going to have surges of passion and clarity. You're going to feel the override need to speak your truth. If you feel like you can't hold it in anymore, you can thank the new moon in Sagittarius. That lion courage is coming forth. Sudden decisions to change directions. Coming to the conclusion, this is not working for me. A lot of us may leave these family gatherings early and say, okay, this is not working for me. A new hunger for freedom. Just that restlessness. I need to be free from things. Thank that new moon in Sagittarius. Your lion courage is kicking in. A desire to step into your leadership. Even though I said earlier that leadership is a lonely place, you look around and you don't see anybody, that's because you're ahead of the crowd. If you find yourself on a journey and you by yourself, that's because you are ahead. You look behind, you don't see anyone. They are just over the hill. They over the hill you just came over. You're still moving forward, but you're laying down the path for others to follow. Okay? So don't worry about that. Leadership can be lonely at times, but you're actually cutting a path for others to follow. That is your destiny. This lion fire awakens through that Sagittarius flame. We said earlier that Sagittarius was fire. Your lion energy, that lion in you is awakening that. So that courage is there for you to use. Feel that energy and know that that courage is there for you to use, that you are part of a species that is rooted in soul sovereignty, that energy is going to be used to aid you in whatever you need to do during this season, to step into your new purpose and your new being, to shed the matrix and all the false lies and start believing in yourself. This probably was a lot to take in, but I think it was definitely needed as we move into this new moon and Sagittarius energy and we start feeling that. We can use that raw energy that usually feeds our lower chakras to use it in our Lyran makeup to do the things that you have to understand. You still have the power. You still have the power. You can redirect that energy. A lot of times we talk about alchemizing energy. You can redirect energy into the places that it needs to be. So instead of letting it feed your fear and feed your lack and your scarcity and your defensiveness, right? Let it feed your truth. Let it strengthen your ability to walk into being a leader, and understand that leaders not always are surrounded by people. Sometimes they're out there by themselves. Let's look at the next transit that's coming up. I didn't look at it earlier. I'm gonna take a quick look now. This was the new moon in Sagittarius. We got one on the December 21st, the Jupiter square Chiron. That's going to be the next one coming up. I love our transit work because I think it gives us guidance. We don't really worry about horoscopes that much. We use them as a basics. It's the same thing in our spiritual journey. Sometimes people start in church. They start with a religion. It gives them the groundwork. But then if you're stuck there after 20 years and things haven't moved or changed, maybe you need to move on. You've been going to the same church or believing the same things, and your life hasn't changed. Isn't life about change? Isn't life about growth? Isn't life about movement? Anything that doesn't move is stagnant, it's dead. Okay? So if you have the same belief and you haven't grown and you haven't moved, then you may be dead. We like to say that you're not awake. Some of you might be dead. But when you awaken, you know that, hey, there's other things I need to learn. There's other things I need to grow. You should always be constantly learning and growing. So knowing that your starseed traits and characteristics are part of that is naturally the next stage of your evolution, the stage of your growth. So please tap into the transit. I have that title up. You can set a reminder for that next transit we're going to do on the, I think, what day did I say that was? On the 21st, Jupiter square Chiron. We'll have that up. Set your reminder so you'll know that transit. I know I jump on at different times. I just give a general time of what I think I'm going to be on, but I felt like I could get on earlier today and to share this with you. A lot of people are going to catch it on the replay. I hope it serves them in their life journey in some kind of way. Something was given to them that resonates. It wasn't for you, just leave it there. If it was, you can leave a comment. You can like the video. These things are really growing. People are really understanding. And I'm truly appreciative of that. So I want to wish everyone love and light in their journey.